2021 set. I can see Mr. Agbata already in the house. Very, very happy to hear from you today. I think everybody is excited to hear, from you and from Mr. Caleb, and to just learn about your experiences in the law school and how they themselves can learn from those experiences, pitfalls to avoid, and success strategies. So let's give a virtual round of applause to all our speakers here today. If you can just type the number of claps that you're giving in the comment section. Me, I'm giving 100 claps to each of them. So 100 plus 100 for our speakers. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. It's lovely to have you in the house. 80,000 claps. That's a real round of applause. Thank you. 2 million claps. Okay, I thought my claps were much, but I can see there are plenty of people out clapping me. That's very good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Caleb Obagwina to speak to us quickly about his law school experience, what it was like for him, the good, the bad, the ugly, what worked for you, what didn't, and what are the pitfalls here that you would want everyone to know about before they go to law school. So, thank you. Mr. Caleb.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening and welcome.
Okay, good evening, and it's a great privilege to be part of this program. Mr. Caleb by name, and I'll be talking briefly on the law school experience and what motivated me into becoming what I am today. And I think it will really help many of you and to see what we try to achieve with this program. I hope you can still all hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear, sir. Go on.
Okay, good. So I can go on. First of all, I was posted to Enugu campus, Agbani campus precisely in 2013, November, and we resumed. And like most of you would have had now, you have issues of posting.
Hi, Mr. Caleb. We can no longer hear you.
I think his audio went down for a bit there. Hello, Mr.
Okay,
Caleb.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. Now, what I was saying is that the challenges of the law school are numerous, starting from your posting, from your admission till the lecture begins and all that. So I will just start with that. Now, first of all, the first challenges you face now is some of you, your university is yet to or have sent your name to the law school, but the difficulty you are facing is that when you check your site, they'll say record not found. So many of you are already panicking. Some of you are already making contacts to call those who are in law school, and some of you may fall victim of people who pretend to be staff of law school and extort you in order to get this issue resolved. Unknown to you, this issue will be resolved whether you like it or not. So that's the first issue you will definitely face. Now let's pass the next issue, which is you have gotten your admission status, and the next thing is posting. Where will I be posted to? Now, many people want to be posted to Lagos, some people want to be posted to Abuja, and few people want to go to Yola and Kano because they feel that those zones are not secured, and hence they want to work out their posting. Another challenge that they face when they get to the next bridge. Now, once that issue of posting is done, the next thing is that they get to law school, and it's issue of clearance and orientation, which definitely every one of you will go through it. And the major program begins, which is the week 3 of law school. Now, before you come to law school, there's this perception you must have been told that the exams or law school is very hard. It is difficult. The workload is much and all that. Now, to be fair with you, all you have heard is completely true. However, planning and direction are one of the basic key you must have, or you must take note of if you have to excel in the law school with ease. Now, my experience was that in our time, we never had such direction. Neither did we have anybody to look up to, especially when it comes to the issue of law school. We only had to look up to our lecturers, who sometimes were not always there for us, and we had to struggle all by ourselves. And I want to be frank with you, my own personal experience was that I was not really impressed with the teaching I saw at the law school. But though they tried to give their best, but definitely it was not as I expected. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, good.
Loud and clear.
I want to be sure that I'm carrying everybody along, so I will not just be talking and I forget that I have audience I'm talking to. So at every interval, I will try to pause and get a feedback that I'm being heard by those participating. Now, one of the challenges I faced was trying to understand the basic concepts of what the law school really is, especially from the fact that we are just leaving a substantive teaching into procedural teaching. So there was this big gap that we had to fill by ourselves. And the law school presumed that we ought to know all these basic things, which, to be frank with you, if we are being sincere to ourselves, some things were actually strange, and many of us have to learn these things for the very first time with no opportunity to even understand what we're actually learning. So these challenges went on and went on and went on till peradventure it was time for exams. Till peradventure we wrote the exams, and thank God we had to pass the exam once and for all. But this was my take home. My take home is that if this routine continues like this, the performance of those who will come to the law school subsequently may be drastically affected, and we could actually see that in our academic year. In our academic year, we had over 6,000 students who wrote for the exams, and barely 2,000 students were called to the bar, making 4,000 students coming back to resit the bar exam, and they kept failing, and they kept failing, and they kept failing. And I thought of this idea, and I said, the issue with the law school and the student has been breach of communication as well as understanding. And what should have been responsible for this? One of the things I observe is the choice of words that are used by authors when communicating to students. And the basic purpose by which we write books is basically to communicate and not to show how intelligent we are, if we are really to be sincere to ourselves and not to claim to be a guru in educational sector. Hence, I came up with the idea of, first of all, writing books, which I try to break down the terms used by big authors into very simple terms. But the name of the book was yet to be known because I had no name to give the book. Until such a time, on one of the students who was reading the book and just made a pass-by statement by saying that this book is actually very easy to read. And that's how I was able to catch the word easy to read, and I had to remove the to and decide to make it easy read. And that has been the brand of the company since then. And what we have writing into plain English, and that has been our basic aim and objective. Now, we also find out that the book alone was not actually sufficient, and they needed a face, they needed a voice, they needed a reality to this book in question. So we started up with our lessons, our extra classes, which we gave out to students. And to our greatest surprise, we really saw how far we actually affected the law school positively as the pass rate began to rise from 40% to 55% to 60% to 70%. And currently now the law school can boast of as much as 80 to 85% pass rate. And that, I would say, has contributed largely to students now understanding the scope, the aims, and objective of why they are in law school. But to be frank with you, these tasks are not actually very easy, but then it's one of the things we have actually sacrificed, and we said we must ensure that students get the very best of learning while in law school. And again, secondly, the idea of law school is not just to come and learn. Some people also see it as a way of achieving their dream to be called to the bar and be called barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court. Hence, we are doing two things. One, we are helping you learn, and two, we're also helping you achieve your goal. And in a short period of time, we have been doing this close to 7 to 8 years now. We have impacted a lot of students in their thousands of numbers. And I was really glad when I was told I will be able to speak today to prospective students who are coming to the law school. So basically, that is what I can tell you concerning my history about the law school, what prompted me to the Easy Read Legal, and what we are doing for now. So I think that's all I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was very, very, very insightful. Like I said, I just said in the comments, simplicity is the best brand. I think that I speak for everybody here when I say thank you for taking a seemingly complex system of learning and breaking it down into easy read, which everybody can easily understand and digest for themselves. I think that has been very helpful. If anybody here has read any of your books or attended any of your tutorials, they will agree with me that it is very, very helpful. So thank you so much, Mr. Caleb. Our next speaker is Mr. Agbata Joseph Chukwujiku. Hello, Mr. Joseph. So if you can just also talk to us, tell us what your experience was like, what ideas you had going in, and how those turned out for you, and something that you'd like everyone here to know to avoid or be conscious of when they are going to law school. Thank you.
Huh? Sorry, anything. Sorry.
Hi, Mr. Agbata, you're muted, so we can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I welcome everybody. I welcome all the participants, and I must be grateful to my boss, Mr. Caleb, the CEO of Easy Read Legal, and organizers of this particular webinar. Well, one of the things I have to say this is Mr. Caleb has already laid the background. So I'm going to go straight to the point on things I would want us to know as we are going to law school, especially when we're expecting to make a very high or good, what I call good success in law school. Apart from other things that Mr. Caleb have said, issue of admission and other things you must know in law school, one of the things I would want every student to know here is this: don't go to law school with your knowledge. Don't go to law school with your aforeknown knowledge. Like, don't go to law school to begin to argue what you have known before. The things you do in law school, you have to unlearn those things you already know, then learn things that law school is going to teach you. You may also have the opportunity of being in law school and relearning, because law school can teach you one thing this week and teach you another thing next week. But what is important is not what you have known or what is obtainable in practice. What is important is what law school need at the moment for you to pass the exam. So as you're going to law school, you find out that, like Caleb have said, it is procedural. You are going to meet procedural aspect of the law as different from your substantive law. Some of you have taken part in several internships. You must have seen things done in the practical way. Please don't go to law school to argue them. Don't go to law school to argue them. And some of you are coming to law school with will be coming to law school with a lot of materials. With due respect, get to law school to get the right material. Law school will give you a list of books that you need that are updated, and Easy Read is one of them. Easy Read is very much updated. When I was in law school, Mr. Caleb helped me a lot at Abuja. I never met him, but somehow he was recommended to me, He sent me his book, but that's not what I'm going to be talking here. Maybe that will be for another day. So you must know and that's what I want to talk about. You must know the kind of books you read. You don't read all books. Don't go and read Lagos wicked authors. That's what I call them. Read recommended books. Read recommended books. They are important. Another thing I want you to talk about is your reading pattern. Don't go to law school to go and apply another man's reading pattern. Don't go to law school to learn a new reading pattern. If you know the reading pattern that has worked for you, let me share a practical example. While going to law school, the truth was I was not admiring to make a first class. Anyway, I play a lot. I'm all this play person. In fact, I play football. At the time in law school, I had medical issues that I was banned from playing football. It got to the extent. But I had friends that would say, Joseph, you want this, go and make a first class. I was just asking myself, what do I need the first class for in the first place? But something happened. I didn't change my reading pattern. I operate highly during the day. So during the day, I will read my books. Immediately I'm done with my lectures, I will read till Law School Abuja Library closes by 8 or 9. So I will read till 8 or 9. Immediately I'm done with that, I go to mommy and eat my food. I'm going to my hostel to sleep. Because in law school, you meet persons that they will intimidate you with their reading style. You meet persons that when they answer a question, you will think you have not started at all. Law school is not a place to adopt another man's reading pattern. You need, one of the lecturers, Dr. E.O. Loononi, one thing he taught me in law school was, he told me, he said, sleep is very important in law school. Yes, I'm not saying you should go to law school and begin to sleep a lot, no. But at least make sure that each day you sleep 4 to 5 hours at most. A minimum of 4 hours and a maximum of 5 hours sleep a day. So if I come back from school, because we don't cook, all of you should be aware by that, having gone to mommy to eat, if I come back around 8 or 9, if I begin to sleep, if I should sleep from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, I'm awake. But some persons, they have read throughout the day or worked themselves up throughout the day, they come back, begin to read till next morning. Law school is continuum. That's why you will just, from the morning, you are going to the next day, you have your activities, you have your questions to answer for the next day. You must have things you must do. So you must give time to sleeping of at least 4 to 5 hours each day, and you don't change your reading pattern. Adopt the reading pattern that works for you. Then, another thing I did in law school is that don't miss classes. Yes, law school classes are very much important. It is the lecturers that will set your question. Those things that you think you have known, or those that, if you read, some of you will go to begin to argue with your lecturers in law school. No. If there is any knowledge you had before now, demonstrate it in class, put it to test in class. You can always ask your lecturer questions. Sir, you taught us this, but this is what I asked it very humbly. Don't be arrogant about anything. Or law school will mess you up. If you have any doubt in your mind, please don't go to resolve it in the midst of your co-student. Please resolve it in class. The lecturers, especially if you are going to go to Abuja, you have wonderful lecturers. You have wonderful lecturers. Even if you don't know Mr. Caleb is always there. He can always put you through. These are persons, lecturers like Iolononi, Mozoba, the DDG, and several of other of our lecturers. Mr. Caleb, his number is always everywhere. You can call him at any moment. Why I call these persons is that they are persons who are aware of the law school laws and principles as it is then. The truth is this, there are things I will tell you today, but in as much as I wrote it in my exams and they were correct, but if you write it during your time, you will be wrong. That is why some of you will go and you solve fast questions and you find out that what you have solved from what you have been taught are different. Some of you will feel that those things are wrong. No. Make sure that the highest knowledge you have is the one in the class, the one your lecturers are teaching you at the time. That is what is important. The next thing I want to talk about God. Please, law school is more spiritual than physical. In fact, in law school is a place that everybody that have been in law school will always tell you, I am more spiritual. If you are zero spiritual outside law school, in law school, you find out that you will increase at least 1%. Your highest level of spiritual religiosity is in law school. What I mean religiosity is, I don't mean you should go and carry fellowship on your head. Time for classes, you are in fellowship, or no. But at least this is a time to pray. Because law school exam is an examination you'll be writing, and even your enemy and your friends are interested in your success. People want to know whether you have succeeded or you failed. So you must, not just to prove them wrong, but you must make sure that you are prayerful at every point in time. In law school, you see persons fainting, you see persons falling sick at time to exam. These things are not normal. The next thing I want to talk about, you need to take care of your health in law school. Don't pressurize yourself. I say it again, don't put yourself into unnecessary pressures. In law school, you will meet students that will make you feel like you have known nothing in life. You meet students that when they answer questions, you will be seeing a demeanor of yourself. You will belittle yourself the more. Don't allow them belittle you. Let me share a practical example. During law school, I was smart. I'm smart, but I never really showed it in class. So, but definitely, if you are smart, other smart students will always locate you. Now, we now decided to be doing tutorial on Saturdays. We were answering multiple choice questions. I found out something. Sometimes I'll move from library. Maybe that day I may be reading corporate law in library, and the time is 2:00. So maybe somebody that is reading corporate law, I will now move straight forward to the area where we are doing multiple choice, where we are solving it. But these girls or some of those my friends, they would have gone home, solved those things, but when we come there, we will choose any year. Me, my own is they let us choose any year and we solve it. And now, when we were solving the question, I found that some of them will go and choose a year that they have solved at home. When we begin to solve the question, their speed will be very high. Sometimes some of them solve these questions in milliseconds. A question that may take me a minute to solve, somebody is solving it in a milliseconds. Now, after the whole thing, they will score 70, 80, 90. I'm sorry to say it, I will score 40. Now, scoring 40 and then getting 80, it will dampen my spirit so much. I will be very much annoyed with myself. Immediately after the lesson, I will go home to go and check those things. And when I walk at my speed, I found out that my score really increased. But because I was trying to meet up with their speed and to catch up with them, I found out that I am getting confused instead of being convinced. So what did I do? After like 2-3 times, I stopped going for the MCQ solving, because I found out that one thing I will not do in law school is anything that will bring my morale and my spirits down. The time I'm using to do these things with them, I will use it to go and read and study on my own. If I have questions, I call people like my lecturers, like Iolo, Noni, Mozoba, Caleb. I'll put up a call or I drop a message. If they don't take my call, I'll drop a message. The particular question, they will respond, and I will consult my book. Be good with library. Be good with library. And that in there, you must be a voracious reader in law school, and you must be reading the right things. The truth is this: I read in law school. That's just a truth I must tell you. I read and took care of my health. Be careful of what you eat in law school. If possible, law school is a time that doors open for people. I don't know how it happened, but in law school, you find out that people will be willing to help you. You find out that your uncle have not. If you put up a call, I need money for this. You see them placing call. The highest thing you need money for in law school is for your feeding. Maybe you eat 3 times in a day in Abuja, 500, 15 a day. So make sure you eat well. Make sure you eat well. It is very much important. I think I will stop here and subsequently say other things. Thank you, Nero. Hello, Nero, are you with me?
Thank you, Mr. Agbata. Thank you. That was very insightful. I think there's 4 things that you said that stood out for me just now. The first one is don't adopt anyone else's reading pattern. I can't overemphasize how important that is. Do only what works for you. Don't say because your roommates reads throughout the night, so you can join them and do it. You will just find yourself sleeping in class and losing out on so many valuable information. So do what works for you. That's key. The second one is sleep. 4 or 5 hours or more if possible. I think that if you can manage your time properly, you can definitely have a healthy sleeping schedule in law school. Don't listen to anyone who tells you that when you go to law school you can't sleep. That's not true. If you manage your time well, you manage your reading well, there is absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be putting even up to 6 hours of sleep every night, because it's very important. The more you sleep, the more rested you are, the easier it is for you to assimilate. You stay awake for 3-4 days straight, and by the time you're trying to read, it's like nothing is entering. You've wasted your time, you've put yourself at risk, and you've gained nothing out of it. So sleep, that's very important. You also talked about resolving your doubts with lecturers instead of your classmates. Very, very true. People can be confusing. You don't want to hear, I think everybody at this stage must know what hearsay evidence is, and you know why hearsay is not acceptable in courts in most cases, because it's what somebody heard, that somebody told them, that another person heard from another person, and the real value of it has been diluted so many times through all the retelling. And by the time you're now confirming something that a lecturer said from your classmate who has confirmed it from another classmate, it's been seriously diluted and you are at a risk of learning the wrong thing. I think it's even better in many cases to not have learned something than to learn the wrong thing. Because if you've not learned something, your mind is blank on that topic. The minute you get it, you assimilate it and you move on with that information. But if you learn the wrong thing, and if you master the wrong thing, it's extremely risky, because you can then go and write that wrong thing in your exams and put yourself in trouble because of it. So if you have any doubts while you're at the law school, you didn't hear anything clearly, or you're not sure about something, please bring it up to your lecturers. In my experience, the lecturers at law school were very, very helpful, very, very attentive to people's needs, and they're always very happy to answer any questions you have. So bring it up with them. And then the fourth thing that you said I really like just now was take care of your health. Do not let anybody give you high blood pressure. Law school is a place where there are millions and millions of ways to blow up your own blood pressure. Please avoid it. Please, if you hear people saying, oh, this one is hard and that one is hard, just take it with a pinch of salt. Listen only to your lecturers and read only the proper materials. Don't just pick this and pick that. It doesn't help you. I think one thing that puts people in trouble in law school a lot is trying to go above and beyond. It's very good to be prepared. It's very good to come prepared, but there's also the risk of doing too much and putting yourself in trouble. So please, let's avoid that. Please avoid that. Thank you. Thank you to all our speakers on their introductory speeches. I'm still going to hold you here for a bit. We have spent 42 minutes out of our allotted hour. I think that we can manage to fit in next. We've had so many questions from all those who registered. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. I was very excited to be reading them. And now we have our speakers in the house. I'm just going to be throwing out the questions to each of them. So please come on, please put on your microphones. I'm going to be throwing out these questions as quickly as they are coming to me. And in the meantime, if there's anyone else here who wants to add something to a question or has a perspective, just raise your hand. I will give you the floor. So the first question, I think, is for Mr. Agbata. Are there graded moot practices / mock trials in law school? Someone wants to know if you have moot practices or mock trials in law school.
Yes, definitely. In law school, there is moots and mock trials, but it's not graded. But they are very much important to, there is a particular topic. If you participate, it is very important that you participate, but it's not graded. It's very much important.
Okay, yeah, yes, that's true. Mr. Caleb, someone wants to know, how can I start preparing for my exams? How do I study in the Nigerian Law School?
Okay. Well, like what Joseph said, planning, timing, management is very, very key. Now, let me just say something which I never expected. I actually went through such a kind of thing. Now, if you are to practice for law school exams, there are 5 basic steps I always tell students. And these 5 basic steps I adopted it from the way legislative processes are done. Now, let me just say it first of all. Now, if you look at legislative processes, there are 6 basic steps they take before they execute any bill, which later becomes an act. And watch carefully. The first one they do is what we call the first reading. We have second reading. We have committee stage. We have report stage. We have third reading, and we have executive access. Now, let's carry that plan into our reading pattern. For every exam in law school you have to prepare for, if you have not read at least 3 times over that information, you'll be left stranded in the exam hall. Now, the first reading of your first timing in law school is when you resume. For every class, you read before every class. Now, let me be frank with you. You may not really understand what you have been reading at the point of first reading, but don't give up. Just keep reading, because you can never know where your brains are storing this basic information. Now, after you're done with the first reading, but let me now advise you, majority of the books that you have in law school will not give you that particular of time to have first, second, and third reading, because they are very voluminous. Hence, the law school have its handbook, and we also have summary books that can actually fast track the reading processes with all information still intact. Now, once you are done with your first reading and your second reading, the next thing we have is the committee stage. Now, what is the committee stage? Now, the committee stage is a stage where you gather your friends and you go through past questions, just like the way Joseph said so. But then some friends are not actually being sincere, and that's why I'm very skeptical about this stage. Some friends, like he said, would have practiced a particular year, and just to make you look down on yourself, and I don't know why they do that. The law school is supposed to even be more of a collective effort than trying to put somebody down, but then you cannot blame the students. They think that they're going to carry first, or there's a first position or something designed for them if they do better than you in life. So I feel that's one of the things that motivates them to have such an ulterior motive, and I believe that's one of the issue. Now, after the committee stage, there's a stage called the report stage. Now, what do you do in the report stage? Like he said, for every doubt you have, this is the time to make a report on them. The report stage is a stage whereby you make known all your doubts and you give to those who will clear it for you before the exam. So all your doubts, you have a paper where you write issues I must clear before each paper. That's the report stage. You make a definite report. Now, when you are done with all your doubt clearing, you will do what you call your third reading, which is, I say, is the final reading. Then the execution stage is where you will now tell yourself the truth. Whether you like it or not, you are ready to write the exam. At this time, you have to remove doubt, you have to remove fear, and you have to remove anything that will put you down. Because let me tell you the truth, some students, I found them also reading 2 minutes to the exam, they are still reading into the hall. That will not really help you if you have gotten your strategy right. With this principle I've told you: first reading, second reading, time to practice past question, committee stage, you clear your doubt, report stage, you read for the third time, and be ready to face the bar exam finally. And I think that's all I have to say concerning your reading approach.
Please, let me just add this.
Yes,
Please,
Yes, please.
do not go to bar finals writing the bar final for the first time. I think people should write this down. Do not go to bar final writing the bar final exam for the first time. Look at what I mean. It will be very bad on you, even if you have read your books 20 times, that the first time you are seeing the question in a bar final is the first time you are seeing the question. Some of you, you read throughout the day, you have never practiced past questions. Practice past questions even when you don't know them. So it will be wrong that you are writing it. Olon calls it writing bar final for the first time, seeing your main question. So it will be, there is no way. Let me tell you all the truth. While going through law school exam, like when I was sharing with Mr. Caleb, I said, this is the least exam I've ever written in my life. Because what did I do? I did not concern myself with things that do not concern me, like how they mark the exam. It does not concern me. How they will say the exam, it does not concern me. My duty is to read, write the exam, and write it very well. So I'm sure that I practiced past questions more than 10 times. I practice it at leisure. If I'm tired, I'll just bring one past question, whether it is MCQ, whether it is theory, I'll begin to practice. When I don't know the answer, I will read the question and then read the answer. I use it to catch fun. So that is it. And another thing I did not add, please, law school is not a time to go and fall in love. Yes, I must say, especially my fellow guys, please look at what the strategy I adopted. I know that being an Igbo boy, if I go to law school and my circle of friends are Igbos, I will fall in love. I'm a human being, no. Make we tell ourselves the truth for this one. But look at what I did. All my friends in law school were Hausa girls and Fulani girls. So it will take me like 1 month to even, in fact, it took me up to 2 months to even know that you don't shake them. So before we even begin to know how to pronounce each other's name well, and we begin to rapport together, and I had many of them. If they are guests, I have like 4, 5 of them like guests, boys. So the time I'm using to meander and make friends with them, they are learning to trust me and learning to trust them. There will not be this time to begin to create much intimacy to begin to fall in love. Those girls, if you're a guy here and you want to go to look for girls you want to be teaching, you will come back. Let's be frank with ourselves. I'm not saying you should be selfish, but if you want to teach any person, teach the person out of love, not out of that you want intimacy or you want to prove to show that you know him. Like those guys you used to see, they know it more than we boys, but they will pretend. They come and ask you a question. They will pretend they don't know it. They know it more than you. So don't be the talking type. Any group you are the only one talking. They will be calling you the law professor. My brother, you're on the wrong track. Or on the wrong track. Please make sure that every group you are into, everybody contributes, and don't always see yourself as the best. So that you can have avenue for others to also make their own contribution that will help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. That's especially very helpful, because nobody asks the question of how do I handle love in law school. Nobody asks that question, but I can see how it's a very important question, so people know what to avoid and how to strategize when they get there. Thank you. That's very helpful, indeed, indeed. See, many people in the comment section really like that tip because it's very easy to get distracted. Law school is a fun place. Law school can be fun. I think in Lagos and Abuja, you have a nightclub just right opposite the law school gate. So you have that. You have Lovitos in Abuja, and you have just is Quilox is just up the road in Lagos. So if you don't focus, if you're not really focused on what you want and how you're going to achieve it, it is very very easy to get distracted. So thank you for that point. Um, Someone has a question that is generally about the law school experience. What do you do to maximize your law school experience? I know, Mr. Agbata, you talked about your religion and your spirituality and going close to God at that time. Is there anything else that you can say would help maximize your law school experience? And Mr. Caleb, you too. This question is for both of you. How do you maximize your law school experience?
Well, maximizing your law school experience is very important. In fact, let me shock you. I also partied in law school. Yes, I partied in law school. You see, Friday, I don't miss parties. But do you know one thing? This, yes. But one thing is this: you cannot begin to party with Joseph, who has, and anytime I'm going to party, so Joseph that I've read for like 12 hours, and he's dancing, partying, drinking, and you are partying with me. Immediately I'm leaving that place. Immediately I'm leaving that place. I'm running back to my hostel to make sure that I augment that I thought I must have lost while partying. And as I'm done in the morning, I will always have my clean up in the church. One thing I decided to be doing for God while in law school that you see every Saturday I must go and clean Elim's Christian Garden. I don't miss it. That is my own sacrifice while I was in law school. But I had fun. That's just the truth. But for the fun, like if you're able here, my people will say, like the play should not be more than the work. You do more of the work. You do more of the work. In law school,
Absolutely.
nobody would have believed, apart from my lecturers, because when you interact with lecturers, they will be shocked. Nobody among the friends, because I told you I made new friends, none of them would have believed I would have made a first class. Because I was not all these buku. You don't see me read unless you come to library. If you want to see yourself, you must come to library. Another time you are seeing me, I'm playing football, or you will see me in a club or partying. So another time you see me in church. I was everywhere. In fact, I enjoyed my stay in law school. I had friendship with all the whole tribes in the country. We discussed issue of politics. I also had an opportunity of association with my lecturers. I also made my, in fact, at the time I was being given free food by some vendors in law school because I will advertise for you. I will say, come and buy food here. I will advertise. So it was very fun for me anyway. So, and find also time to, there are persons that you are better off. As worse as it was for me in law school, there were persons better than me financially and academically. And there were also persons I was better off financially and academically. Find a way to help people. It is important. In fact, sometimes I had opportunity of somebody calling me by 12 midnight to the person just say, just come out and tell me it is well. So I had to leave my hostel to come out and work with the person in law school just to tell the person, no, don't fear, it is well. And thank God the person later made it. So any opportunity you have to help anybody, please do that. It's quite important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very helpful. And that also ties to your original point of don't copy anybody. You don't say because this person is going to the club, I will follow them because you don't know how they read. So thank you. That's helpful. Mr. Keller, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, for me, I feel that the law school is a breaking point. Now, breaking point, I explain to you what I mean. Now, if you look at how the law school is so designed, it's more like the NYSC, where you meet up with people you have not met before. Sometimes university kind of limits the set of people you meet. I'll give you an example. Now, in some university, you will see that the set of people that are there are people from almost the same region, or the same religion, or the same tribe, especially for those of them who went to private school or those who went to local state schools. And their limitation or the people they meet are actually limited. But law school gives you the opportunity to meet people from all walks of life. You can be shocked that in the class you are friends with the ministers, you are friends with those in House of Reps, you are friends with senators. It gives you opportunity to mingle with people who will really help you after the law school. And let me say this. The sole aim of going to law school is not to pass your exams. Now, let's get that clear. Passing your exams will do you good, but it will not take you far with the way and manner Nigeria is being governed. In Nigeria, you need connection to get to wherever you are going to. So how would you think of passing the exam? Have it at the back of your mind that law school is a place where you connect with people who will help you in the very long run. Now, what it means in the long run is that you have to be very humble. You don't need to show off. You don't need to look down on anybody.
Hi, Mr. Caleb.
Hi.
We can't hear you again. Not sure what happened.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now. Yes, please
Yeah,
go on.
what I'm saying is that the law school is an avenue where you can communicate and meet with people from all walks of life. And you can be in a class where you have ministers, senators, House of Rep members who are your classmates, and even people who are not even there yet, who are also your class, because you never can tell where your help can come from. So I think that maximizing your time in the law school is very, very effective. Religious activity, if you have to partake in it, ensure you do that. Social wise, ensure you do that as well. And as well as academic and group meeting, make sure you also partake in that as well. So those are the things I will add to what Mr. Joseph have said. Make use of every opportunity you have to meet new people, make new friends, especially those who will lift you up and not those who will tear you down. I think that's what I can add to that, what you have said.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Caleb. And that's true. I was going to say that we have spoken quite extensively about the academic aspects of law school and the social. Very important. There are people who you would meet in law school that can literally determine how you start out your career. I know that people in my class who got jobs from people in my class in law school. That happens all the time, happens everywhere. So interact with people, put your best foot forward, get to talk to people. Don't be too boastful or too intimidated. Like Mr. Agbata said, there will always be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Just find a vibe that works for you and stick to it. Just stay in your lane, meet people, put your best foot forward. If you have any skills that you think you'd like to share. Law school is a great place for that. If you're a writer, let people know that you're a writer. If you're a public speaker, let it be shown. There are opportunities to showcase your talent, and those are the things that draw people to you. Those are the things that will open doors for you outside law school. So the academics are very, very important, but they're not the only thing. There is a social aspect to things that, is also going to be very useful. Law school is not just for passing the bar. Think of it as a stepping stool between your LLB degree and the start of your law career. There is a whole year in which to make that transition from being a student to being a lawyer. So you take it from there. We still have some more questions. I think this one is for anybody. Are females allowed to wear suit trousers for dinner? In my experience, no, females are not allowed to wear trousers. I don't know if any of that has changed. Do our speakers have a different perspective of that? Are females allowed to wear trousers for dinner?
No, man. Thus is enough. No, man.
Okay. Yes, I was thinking the same thing. And also, there's something that we've kind of missed that we haven't talked about, has been the law school dinners. So I think our speakers should just talk to us briefly on what's a dinner at law school. What are they going to expect at the dinner? What's it for? What's it about? How does it go down? I'd like to hear from both our speakers on this, please.
Okay, I think my boss will have much to say. Mr. Caleb, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, I think we should talk on that first.
Okay, well, I need the recap because I need to be clear on what I'm talking on first of all.
Okay, you said about law school dinner.
Okay.
Law school dinners, what are they about and what should people expect?
Okay. The truth is this. The law school dinner is actually, people like to call it a ritual, but please don't see ritual in the sense of kanayo. Please don't look at ritual from that sense. Don't look at it as a bloody or blood money ritual. Now, why is it a ritual? Now, there's a body responsible for dining, and the body is called the body of benches. Now, dining in law school is so important, and let me tell you, it's more even important than your exams. You may pass your exam with the first class, and if you don't partake in the dining terms, you will never be called to the bar until you get dined. Now, the question is that you will not be asking yourself, why are they forcing you to eat? Now, it's part of the rituals to be called to the bar. And you must dine at least 3 times before called to the bar with members of the body of benchers who are experienced. And they are going to advise you and talk to you on what to expect in the legal profession as you get called to the bar. And in dining, there are some decorum you must comply with. Like, for example, you must be punctual. The dining time usually starts by 5 p.m. but students are expected to be there at least 30 minutes before time, which is most likely 4:30. Now, once you are there at the dinner by 4:30, you will now observe that the body of benchers, as well as the staff of the law school, including the DG, will be filing in. Now, as lawyers, we don't walk in, we don't bounce in. What we rather do is that we file in. Filing is the one system of walking as if they are walking like a zombie. But please do not mark my word, the zombie type of walking. But the filing is a kind of a slow motion movement where the body of benchers walk in, and every student is expected to stand up until they are on their seat. And once they are done with that, the first thing they start with is opening prayer, and immediately the food is served. So don't think that is a dinner where you go to and item 7 is maybe the last of the day. That's not true. Immediately they are done with opening prayer, they start serving the food. And in the course of eating, you are not to make noise with your cutleries. You should know how to use your fork, your knife, or whatever items you have been given to eat. And most likely they prepare 3 square meal. And the dinner is actually something you actually love. And for the ladies, during the course of the dinner, they'll be on natural hair. They are not to fix attachments, but they'll be on their natural hair, on suits, and with the law school tie. Because the law school is going to give you a tie, and most likely some campus enforce that the tie should be used for the dinner and one of the mandatory dress code. And you'll be on dark suits. So I think this is more of the dinner. And once you are done with the dinner, the body of benchers will file out, and the students find a way to depart. You please do not file out. You are not yet a body of benchers, so please find a way to depart. You can jump through the window, Anywhere you want to go through is fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Please do not jump through the windows. But thank you for that rundown on the dinner. I think you captured it quite beautifully. And on the note about hair, someone also just asked in the comment section, are there restrictions on hair color for women? Well, I would say that differs from campus to campus, but generally you are not allowed to use bright colors in your hair. Black or dark brown is preferable. Something like what I have here may even be considered too light because there's a bit of gold here. I would, just advise you to
Go on back here.
focus on dark colors, black or dark brown for your hair color. And if you have maybe your natural hair is colored, then of course you can cover it with weave-on or attachment. Although you might have some trouble with that during the dinner because you're not allowed to have your hair woven or styled in any way other than its natural style for the dinner. So take note of that. What
Miss
other
Nere,
questions do we have?
let me
Yes,
just
please.
add this. Okay, let me just add this. You see, you will be taught about dinner in law school. There's no need bothering yourself much about the dinner and its procedure. You will be taught, and the requirement will be stated. I want to talk about dress code. You see, law school is not a place that you want to go and dress to impress. No go to impress anybody. Law school don't want to be impressed. No go to impress anybody. If they say you should wear white, you should wear black. Please, you see that same suit you used to go to class with? That is the same thing. Unlike while we were in the university, that during dinner we go and buy new suit. Women will go and sew one beautiful long flowing gown. That's not it. In fact, it's possible that if you are such a person that keeps his clothes very neat, the same thing you went to class with the same day, you can go to dinner with it. Now, so you don't need to bother yourself when it comes to dinner, law school dinner. The same clothes, you don't need to go and bring shout it in, because one thing is sure, as I'm talking about dress code to dinner, I'm also talking about dress code to the class. You know, when you dress properly, you should know. When they say reasonable below the knee, just obey those simple rules, because if you come to class any day and you are walked out or you are walked back home, that day you will be so much distracted, your spirit will never concentrate in anything. If you go to, if you were sent back, maybe you were on time, you were sent back based on your dress code to go and change and come back for the dinner. Even when you come to dinner, you won't enjoy the dinner. So the thing there is that you are not going to, during dinner, you won't appear, you appear on your natural hair as women. Let your painting, your makeup, let it be mild, let it be noble, let it be legal, let it be loyally.
So
Don't
you hearing me?
go, yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
We
we
can
can
hear you.
hear
Okay.
you. Please go
Okay.
on.
So you don't go there to impress anybody. In fact, in trying to impress anybody, immediately you are noticed. If you have any reason to be noticed, you'll be walked out. Anything that distinguishes you by your dress code during dinner or even during classes, you'll be walked out for it. Apart from, I'm not like you see people who dress elegantly beautiful like a lawyer. Good. But what I mean by notice means when you go and wear this human hair, the one that go and touch ground to be noticed, you go and wear skirt that you slice so that we can see your tight. Let me tell you, most of us have seen those things. They are nothing. I don't know who they want to show it to, whether it's lecturer, but while in law school as a student, those things doesn't move me. Do I even have time to look at you? That I mean that almost everybody is sitting down looking at their books. So anything that you dress that will make it to be noticed is not important. Within few months you are off. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We've shot quite a bit past our time, but I think that I'm enjoying this, and I guess everyone is also enjoying this. And we have so many more questions to get to, so please keep the questions coming. Our speakers are permitting us to go ahead. This question says, how do I make a first class? How can one strategize to make a first class? Is there anything like a strategy for making a first class? Speakers, let's hear.
Hello, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you get the question, please?
No, please recap the question.
Okay, the question is, how do I make it first class? How can one strategize to make it first class? Is there anything like a strategy for first class?
Yes, everything you want to achieve, there is a strategy. Uh, One of the things you will do is like what we have said before. You have to read very well. You have to study your books very well on one part. And another thing that a lot of persons fail to do if you want to make a first class is that you must give equal attention to all the courses. It will be wrong if you have 90 in civil litigation and you have 60. If you have 90 in civil litigation, 90 in all the other courses, and you go to criminal litigation and have 50, you won't make a first class. You won't make a first class. So you should always make sure that you give equal attention to all the courses. Instead, normally there are courses that may tend to be harder for you. Like me, I had problem with corporate law while in law school. In fact, sometimes when I remember I have to read corporate law, I'll be crying. I had to call my lecturer. In fact, at the time he would pray for me, he would tell me, he would counsel me. So what I did was I gave much more every day is for each course, 5 days. So, and I have Saturday and Sunday. So what I did was, corporate law was a problem then. I had to include it either on Sunday or Saturday. But I must make sure that at least I know all the courses. I gave them equal attention. That's just the strategy. And do not be distracted if you want a first class. And look at another thing. 80% of persons who want a first class never made it. I think I'm an authority to tell you this. While in law school, the pressure of wanting a first class will make you land and pass. Don't pressurize yourself. What is important, in fact, what is important is to pass law school. While in law school, when people ask me, Joseph, what do you want to graduate with? I tell them, I'm in law school for two things. I'm in law school to pass and to know the law. Don't go to law school to make a first class. You may not make it. You may not make it. Because only the pressure will make you sick. So what I advise you to do is go to law school to know the law as it is taught in law school. Now, if you really know the law as it is taught in law school, there's nothing that will stop you from making a first class. In fact, I know I will make a first class after I've written my exams. Because I've marked myself. Apart from property law, that we were given land registration law of Lagos State, which is a topic that looked very simple. I solved from almost 1990 till 2020. I solved all the past questions, both receipt classes and this. I have not come across this question, so I did not bother myself reading it. So while I get to my exam, I saw these questions, 5. My brothers, I did not know any of them. What I did was I just handpicked. So I already know that in the property law already, I have maybe in the 5, I should get like 1 or 2. So I now have over 15 to contend. So maybe the ones I know, let me just say I scored 12 over 15, plus maybe 1 or 2 I got from there. So I've lost 6. Apart from the ones I may not really pass, I thought I know I may not pass. So what do I do? During the theory, I had to upgrade. I had to read better. I have to prepare for it better. So after that, I have marked myself saying at least each course I should have like 15 in the OBJ. Then if I should have 15, why wouldn't I have like 60 in my theory questions? Then I should have 70 and above. I know I've made a first class. So after this, I know I will make a first class, but I don't want to go below it after the exam. So that was really the pressure I was into after the examination. So you can mark yourself, but don't go with the pressure of making a first class. Rather, your pressure should be to pass and to know the law. One of the things that gives me joy in this profession is not that I made a first class. No. One of the things that gives me joy is that even if I'm sleeping, if you wake me up, I'll give you the principle of law that you need. Even if I'm in court, I will find myself reasoning. After my exam, I had to manage a law firm for a person. There are lawyers, but I came in because the guy loved me and we have been related. When I came in, I was in charge of administering the firm. I was the person sending lawyers to court. Sometimes they will have a problem. I'm the person suggesting, read this case, do this, do that. It was when our result came out that they knew I was not a lawyer. So my own joy is that I am proud to say I know the law. Because while in law school, I know I never loved corporate practice more. I loved litigation. And I know the line I've taken for myself. So I wanted to know the law. I wanted to be happy that I know the law. So I went for 2 things, knowing the law and passing law school. So if I have known the law, yes, if I have known the law and I have passed law school, I'm good to go. So thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. That's very insightful because you see a lot of people just enter law school with that straight up, I am going to graduate with a first class. That's, in my experience, is one huge trap that you can put yourself in. If you go in determined to do your best, determined to learn as best as you can, and determined to put in your best effort, you will be fine. Mr. Caleb has raised a hand. Okay. Yes, please.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you loud and
Yeah,
clear,
to
sir.
add to what Mr. Joseph have said, you see, when it comes to issue of first class, there's something he keeps saying which I keep concurring with him. Now, there's something he must have done which, to his greatest amazement, he may not have taken judicial notice of, but let me just say it in one word: humility. The moment you are proud, you will never make a first class. Just forget it. Making a first class is not just a target. It is humility in your humanity. And it's so funny, why is it so in law school? You can't be so arrogant and make a first class. I'll tell you why it's so. Once you believe you are the best and you are arrogant about it, when you get to the exams, the law school exams is so technical that you must listen or look at the minute word, as much as accept, as much as is not. The moment the pride you have covers is not, you have misunderstand the concept of the question and you will misfire. And as much as you misfire, as much as you start getting down to even pass, that you even pass the law school, you actually succeeded. So one of the secrets to making first class, other than your reading, is to put up a humble personality without any iota of doubt of being the best or trying to overshadow any other person. And that will give you your fastest way to first class.
Yes, absolutely. That is very true. Humility. Like I think Mr. Joseph just said this. He said this earlier. There will always be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Be humble. Stay on your own lane. Don't try to be like this. Don't try to be like that, and you will succeed. There's another question here. Someone is asking, how do I access past questions? Yes, I think that's important because Mr. Joseph talks about not writing the bar for the first time on the first time for the first time. Basically, you need to have practiced it before. You need to have done like a self-test. You need to have done mock quizzes and everything with yourself. But how do you access the past questions to do that? Someone is asking.
Okay, let me say this because I have a fair knowledge of most of the campuses and the difficulties they have. Now, let me be frank with you. Majority of the campus find it difficult to get access to past question, unlike Abuja, who is the headquarter and have plethora of access to past question, whether regular or receipt, and I'm being truthful about this. Those in Lagos campus, if you check most of the past question they have, it stopped as far back as 2017. They don't have access to recent past question the way Abuja will just get it because they are the headquarter, like I said, and because of the continuity of business centers and how it is managed. Those in Kano or those posted to Yola, I think they find it difficult to even have, including those in Bayelsa. I remember one certain time, I had to send past questions to Bayelsa campus. I had to send past questions to Lagos. I had to send past questions to Yola of 2019 and 2020 because they don't have a copy there. And it's not even about getting access to past questions. Let me be fair with you. Even Mr. Joseph will tell you that most of the answers are the past questions are not actually correct, and neither are they computed by the law school. So you have to be very, very careful as to how you go about past questions, and that's why you have your textbook with you. Any answer you see that raises doubt, please confirm and verify from your lecturer, and also verify from your textbook and other recommended texts by the Nigerian Law School. That is one of the things you must take note of. And secondly, let me even say this: past questions are past questions, and the change in laws affects one of the ways by which the past question is done. And what I mean by this is, if you have a past question, for example, and the year in it is 2015, by the time you are writing that past question now, you observe that there will be a changes in the past question because of the change in law. And let me give you one of the examples. One of the greatest challenges that the student faced was that in 2015, they were asked to draft a charge sheet in Abuja. And many of them drafted charges. And when the past question came out, the answer was charges, which was correct as at that time. Now, those who came thereafter, when they were taught in the law school that Abuja no longer uses charges, they use information. What they now did was that they went back to past question and they were seeing charges as the answer. And they kept calling and querying that the law school is teaching inconsistency. How would they teach them information? And the past question is saying charges. And I had to tell them that the change in law must have affected the answer, and nobody have the time to sit down to be reviewing the answer based on the current law. So that is one of the challenges you will face because of the change in law, which will definitely affect most of the answers you have at the past question.
Okay, thank you. And that's so important. Pay attention, use past questions, but be very careful when using past questions because law changes and that always affects how the past questions are answered, how those answers look, and what you are learning. So be very, very conscious of that. Thank you for that, Mr. Caleb. Our second to last question here is, what are classes like? What is the typical schedule? Does it vary from campus to campus, or is it all uniform? This question is for both speakers. What are classes like? What's the typical schedule? Does it vary from campus to campus, or is it all uniform?
Okay, when issue of class, my set happened to be a very sui generis case, because we are the COVID-19 sets. We had the opportunity of having 2 classes per day, about 4 hours or so in Abuja, 8 to 12. Then you have another one, 2 or 1 till 4. So the class, it depends on the system the law school want to apply, and it's not uniform. Assuming law school want to be having just 1 class a day, is not uniform. If it is in Abuja, if the DG is telling us that class ends by 2, my brothers and sisters is going to end by 2. But I know of my brothers in Lagos that close classes by 5, go back by 6, stay till 9 p.m. Nobody will listen to you in Abuja. Nobody will do like that, and Kano like that. So the classes commences, I think, by 9 or so. 8 or 9 or so, but the ending time has no time. It depends on your campus. If you are going to Lagos, get prepared. If you are going to Abuja, if they tell you we are leaving by 3, just know that by 3 o'clock, everybody is leaving. Apart from Fridays that people go for Jumat, every other day, it depends on the campus and the administration at that particular place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Caleb, any word on that?
Oh, okay, yes. Let me add 1 or 2 on that. Now, you could see, like he said, their sets is actually sui generis because they are faced with COVID-19. But I think it's actually a new world order from now henceforth. But let me just divide the lesson classes into 2 segments. Now, we have 6 campuses in the whole of Nigeria. Now, we have the 7th one warming up, which is the one that they are building in River State, which might take effect next year, commissioned by January, such a date to be named by Council of Legal Education. But for now, we have 6 campuses. Now, the time frame for lessons and lectures by law school is not universal, like he pointed out. Every campus have a DDG, that is the Deputy Director General, which stipulates the timing which suits them better. So let me just use campus to campus experiences to explain to you. Now, I'll start with Lagos campus, because Lagos campus will always say Lagos campus or the other. Start their class by 9 and end by 6. In some case, when they are trying to approach the exam period, they have a 9 to 9 class, that 12-hour class. But don't be scared, they are going to be breaking between. Now, the reason why Lagos have their classes so long that way is because in Lagos campus, they try to teach the student drafting. And drafting is one topic or one session which some campuses feel reluctant to teach and expect the student to learn it on their own. But Lagos campus will want you to recite it, you recite it until it becomes part of you. They can call you and say, recite the entire deed of assignment. So you see students saying, this deed of assignment is made, this dash, dash, between this, and when they miss one line, they say start all over again. So Lagos is trying to be what we call perfectionist, and in doing that, it takes a lot of time, so they close late. Now let's move to the next campus, which is Abuja. Abuja lecturers will not have time to teach you drafting. In short, you can ask Mr. Joseph. Most of the drafting, he learned it by himself. He learned most of the drafting by himself. Because when they teach you the basic principle, they give you the decided case, the drafting will be part of your class activity. So Abuja, most likely, when they start by 9, they usually close 1:30 and approximately 2. Same apply to Enugu campus, and same also apply to Bayelsa campus. Abuja, Enugu, Bayelsa, they all close by 2. Now let's go to Kano. Kano tried to adopt what Lagos campus is doing, but Kano actually closed by 4. Not like 6 like Lagos. But let me go to the special campus, which is Yola. Now, Yola, due to the weather condition, which is very, very hot, Yola starts their class by 8 a.m. and at most 11:30 or 12 they are done. Because once it is 12 o'clock, you can't learn in Yola because the whole place will be very hot. It's as if the sun, they are 2 seconds close to the hellfire. So they make sure that their class does not exceed 12 o'clock. So both of them, so some of them, they say, Yola close early. No, they don't close early because they wish to close early, but they close early due to the weather condition. But due to the advent of COVID-19, Abuja campus and many other campuses divided their session into 2. But Yola could not because 1, Yola do not have enough students, and 2, they have enough hall which can space them in order for them to learn without having 2 or more sessions. But I think from now henceforth, the law school session should continue to be 2 until such a time the World Health Organization will say COVID-19 is no longer a pandemic, it was all hoax, we're all joking and all that. But if it remains the same, I think the law school will still maintain the 2 academic session, or better still, they will move it, which is currently ongoing, that there'll be creation of more campuses to reduce the numbers of students in a particular campus. I think that's all I have to say concerning the law school.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Caleb. That's very insightful. I love the way you broke it down campus by campus, because from here we have people who are headed to all 6 campuses, and it's good for everyone to have an idea of what their unique class schedule is going to be like. Thank you. Everybody has been here since the beginning of the webinar to the end. I cannot thank you enough. It's such an honor having you here. Thank you all so much. We have just one more question to go. And I think that this is the question that is on a lot of people's minds. So maybe that's why I left it for last. The question is, how does the grading system of the Nigerian Law School work? I can see Mr. Joseph has already said that he doesn't like this question. Well, we are going to have to force you to answer it. Please tell us, how does the grading system work, and what should everyone here know about that?
I think in issue like this, you should give yourself the negative hope. Don't know what I mean by negative hope. Go to law school believing that they are going to still adopt your least grading system. Yes, I think that's what they did during our set too. If you made, I know people that made 4 A's and 1 B, they fall into 2-2. People that made 4 A's and 1 B plus, they fall into 2-1. 4 A's and 1 C, made pass and all this and all that. But I have one advice on this. There is a lot of things to worry about in law school. One of them should not be, mark my word, one of them should not be marking of examination and the grading system for you. You have a lot of things to worry about. Your duty is to diligently read your books, write your exams diligently. It's not your duty to mark or grade. In fact, some persons I know, the grading system degrades them. The grading system distracts them. I don't put my mind in all those things. It is, if I have written my exam, it is no longer my duty. My duty has ended. the duty of the lecturer starts again when it is time to mark and grade. But if you go and begin to think about how it will be graded, you find out that you are putting yourself into unnecessary pressure. There are a lot of things that will pressure you around. Please, I advise you leave that one, but just go home knowing that it is still your last grade that is still being used. My Oga Caleb, I know he has more things to say on such grading system because now them they there.
Okay. Like Joseph said, there are so many things to worry yourself about. Now, the grading system, first of all, is an administrative duty and not the student duty. So if this question is actually thrown to the DG, like Joseph must have experienced, he's always frowning at such question, and I think that's where Joseph learned his attitude from. To frown at such question, that what's your business with how you grade us? But sadly enough, that's Nigerian negative system for you. Now, to be sincere, the students have the right to know how they are graded. Let's not be so Nigerian about everything about what we do. Education is not a war. It's not a war between the student and the lecturer. In short, education is a place where students and lecturer communicate and see how they can enhance learning and to impart knowledge to generations. So, see, I feel that them knowing the grading system is not wrong. But this is what I don't like. Where a DG will come to class and tell students what they expect as grading system, and it turns out to be the other way around. And that is what Joseph is trying to tell you to avoid, because you definitely get disappointed. Now, some of them, they believed that they are going to be graded cumulatively. When I mean cumulatively, I mean whatever you score, they add them up together and divide it by 5, and where it lands you to, that is the grade. And many of them work towards that. They were targeting 18 in criminal, targeting 19 in ethics, and say if they can just get 45 in corporate, they will make a first class by the cumulative. And they were shocked that when the result came out, they saw pass, they saw conditional pass, they saw fail, and they were like, they had to go and check their breakdown. And to their greatest amazement, for as many who have checked their breakdown, they have been able to perceive that that cumulative marking scheme was not used, but the lowest grade. And this led to so many disappointments. But this is what I will tell you, like Joseph will always say. Do not focus yourself on the grading system, and do not love any course above the other. Love every course equally, ensuring that without passing one of the course, you are going to fail all. So take every course the same way, not like university where you have your favorite course. Law school is not a place where you have favorite courses that you want to be best in civil. Nobody give a damn about what you are best in, but please ensure you have every course equally and treat them all equally as well. I think that's the best I can tell you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much. I think that pretty much covers everything. I think I've gone through all the questions that we've had and some more questions that have been dropped in the chat room. Someone wants to know what's your advice as it relates to CAMA 2020 and the use of past questions and other materials for a course like corporate law. I think this is the last question that we can take. If our speakers can just quickly take this one. We're short, far past our time. So that's our last question. Please, what is your advice as it relates to CAMA 2020 and the use of past questions and other materials for a course like corporate law?
Okay, let me just say this quickly so that you can get things clear. Now, the truth is this. When it comes to past questions and the use of CAMA 2020, it did not really affect much of the question itself. What is rather affected is the principle and the answer. I'll give an example. The scenario in life does not change despite the law. Okay, let me give an example. They have passed CAMA 2020. Everybody is saying CAMA, 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 CAMA. Has it brought more food on our table? Have the situation of life get better? It has not. It still remained the same. Same applies to past questions. The questions remain the same. No matter the changes in CAMA, it does not affect the fact or the scenario in the question. The only thing that is affected is likely the principle or the answers. Now, let me give you one of the examples. Now, when you get to law school, if you have to have an idea of what corporate law is in your university, you must have been told that companies must be formed by 2 juristic persons. But the new CAMA came up with a principle which says, yes, company must be formed with 2 juristic persons, though there is a company that can be formed by 1 juristic person, but these are the conditions. Such a company must be private, and such a company must have 1 juristic person, and for this purpose, such company shall be called small company. Now, if you look at that, you will see it in the provision of section 18, sub 2 of the new CAMA. But if you look at the old CAMA, such provisions were not there. So in case you are asking the exam now, they painted a scenario and say, with the extant law, define what a small company is. The scenario is still the same thing. The past question will still say, with the extant law, define what a small company is. But this is where the answer is. The old CAMA defines small company by level of money or turnover they made in a year by the annual returns form, which is from CAC 10. That's by the old CAMA. But the new CAMA has redefined small company as a private company having one juristic person as member. So you see that the question is still the same as to what a small company is, but what has changed is the principle applying to it. And that is why when you come to law school, please, I beg you, ensure you have books which have been written on the new CAMA that will ensure that you have the recent information of what CAMA really is. And let me say this, I'm one of the first authors in Nigeria to have written a book completely on new CAMA 2020, and till date, I'm thinking I'm still the only one, and one more of books is already out on CAMA 2020 as the corporate law. And if you want a copy of them, we can drop a link of how you can get the book so that you can read ahead of time to know the possible changes as to the old CAMA and as to the new CAMA. But please, the question remains the same. But what will change is the likely principle and the answers you will likely give in that situation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Someone has just one last question. What is bar part 1? I think we can take that quickly before we call it a day. What is bar part 1?
Mr. Joseph, I think you should answer that.
Okay, yes, please. I was going to say that. Mr. Joseph, you are muted. We can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Bar part 1 is for persons who studied abroad. It's for persons who studied abroad who are not conversant with our laws. So they go through bar part 1. When they pass, they will now join you in bar part 2. Law school assumes that if you have studied in Nigeria, you are doing bar part 1 at the same time. That is why you apply directly to bar part 2. So that is it. But there is something I want to include in what Mr. Caleb earlier said. You see, what I want to include is this. When I was starting, I said you are going to unlearn. You see this set, you must learn to unlearn. Because I am sure most of you were taught with the old CAMA in your university. Most of you, I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken. So if you are coming to law school, assume you don't know anything. I think that would be better for you. Assume you don't know anything concerning CAMA 2020. When you get to law school, they will teach you and you will learn it. That is it. And another thing I want to add is this. While going to law school, please do not go and destroy yourself trying to cram cases and sections when you have not learned the principles. With 2 or 3 cases, you are done with one course. Let me give you an example. Criminal litigation. In criminal litigation, if you want to talk about issue of AG, powers of the AG, this and that, only state and the lorry, you will be putting it everywhere, and it will go. But so you will see some persons going to destroy themselves, trying to know, in this particular case, they want to know 10 cases on this principle. These things are not important. When you go to power of attorney, only Chima and Ude and Wara, or Chima and Chime, is enough for you to write everything in power of attorney, no matter how the question comes. If they will mark you. So these are things I just want to talk about, I've not spoken about.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who is here. Thank you so much. We started by 6 and it's already to 8. This has been probably one of the most exciting and interactive webinars I've ever attended. So I'm very grateful to everyone who sent in questions, everyone who logged in, everyone who joined us. Mr. Caleb, thank you for being here. Mr. Joseph, thank you so much. Our speakers, thank you. We've had the most amazing speakers. Thank you very much. So I'm saying goodbye now. In the meantime, please go to www.lotrella.com to sign up. You'd be able to access so many resources for yourself in law school. Mr. Caleb's books are going to be there. You can buy them directly off Lotrella. So go to www.lotrella.com, create an account, and just stay tuned. There will be so much more resources from now and in the future. So everyone just type bye-bye in the comment section so you can say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good evening.